Welcome to a Community Partners interview, where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Jocelyn Dore, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Melanie Hamilton, who is the owner and Communicative Disorders Assistant for Hamilton Speech Services. Hamilton Speech Services provides affordable, private speech and language therapy to children and youth in the Hamilton area. Their clients learn by participating in an intervention that is fun, creative, and engaging. They use toys, books, songs, crafts, and games in order to motivate each one of their clients to reach their speech, language, and communication targets. Someone watching one of their sessions may think the child and clinician are just playing, when in fact, they are working towards reaching their therapy goals. Thank you for joining me today, Melanie.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about you and what inspired you to establish Hamilton Speech Services and to work with individuals with disabilities.
Sure. So during my upbringing, I always was encouraged by my mom to volunteer in the special needs classroom in my elementary school. So I did that. And upon being in there, I just saw the kindness and attention that the staff had with those in wheelchairs or other special needs, and communication was something that they often struggled with, which, just imprinted on me. As I grew older, I have two brothers. They are 10 and 20 years younger than me. So when my brother was born, I was 10, and there was something a little different about him. And back then in the 90s, they used certain terms that, are archaic these days. So he was diagnosed with autism, and he did a block with a public system that was paid for by the government, and he did really well, learning new words and what have you. But then once that block was over, he regressed, and we weren't in the financial position to seek out private therapy. We didn't have a double income family. We were what you would consider poor. So at that point, I decided that when I got older, I would be able to be someone that could provide speech and language therapy to everyone, and not just folks who had extended healthcare benefits or who had the extra income to do speech therapy. So I volunteered at a private practice while I was in university. I was an ABA worker while I was in university, and went to go get my bachelor's in speech and language sciences from Brock University, and then my CDA diploma also from Brock. And during then, I thought, once I have a few years under my belt, I want to open up my own practice, which I did. So I worked in private practice and a school board. So from there, I opened up Hamilton Speech Services, because at that time I was going to be marrying someone with the last name Hamilton and living in Hamilton, born and bred. I thought, well, that's a pretty good name. So then I made sure that the services that I provide can be attained by so many people from all walks of life with, different income levels. Because for me, speech therapy, communication is something that everyone should have access to, not just the rich, not just those who have extended healthcare benefits, just like dental, just like medical. It's an absolute necessary need. And I've seen the difference it can make in my brother back then. And it broke my heart that we couldn't afford it and that he regressed. And I see that in so many other families when there are discrepancies in their funding from the OAP, or they just can't afford it. So I feel like this is a disservice that the government has with so many families in Canada, and that I want to be that bridge that closes the gap so that people can actually afford it. So because I'm a CDA and not an SLP, the difference between an SLP and a CDA is schooling. So SLPs have a master's degree, and they're like the doctor and the doctor-nurse relationship of CDA and SLP. So they do the assessment and write the goals. And myself as the CDA, I lay out the actual treatment along with the supervision of the SLP. So because I've been doing this for 20 years now as a CDA, owned the business for 16, I know what the next steps are. So the relationship between myself and my supervising SLPs is a wonderful one, very tag team, very, we work really well together. So they don't have to be on me as a brand new clinician would have to be. So with us, we want to make sure that we're able to pass down that discount because I'm a CDA. I don't have to charge $200 an hour for the service that I provide, so that everyone can receive the services. And if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I really need this for my kiddo. Is there any way that we can work a payment plan out or what have you?" And because I'm the face of the business and I'm the one taking care of that, then they're working directly with me. Whereas that would not happen in a big government service or perhaps not even another private practice because there's just so many other loops to jump through. So that's what I do. That's why I do what I do.
Cool. Can you tell me a little bit about the services that you guys offer?
Sure. So we do social groups on Saturdays from 10 to 12 o'clock. It's called Social Saturdays. So I welcome kiddos of all ages and abilities with autism. And we do things that are myself directed, but I create opportunities for the kids to actually interact with their peers. With kiddos with ASD who have gone through many different types of therapy throughout their life, everything is adult directed. And I try to create the opportunity and step back and let them learn from each other. If it's they're doing parallel play or if I'm encouraging them to play a game and I lead it, but then I step back and have them do that. That is wonderful. There's also within that group, we do community outings. So we're learning about street safety, crossing the street, saying the rhymes so that they understand once we get to that spot, we have to look this way and that way. So community safety, socialization, then we go to stores. So then there's that aspect of learning about money and how to add it up and how to give change, doing greetings, how to behave in the store, how to navigate the buggy in the store. So all the things that we kind of take for granted for some folks who are neurotypical versus those on the spectrum who are neurospicy. And that has been going on for a number of years now. So that social group. I also do a summer camp at Triple T Farm in Ancaster. So Triple C Farm is owned by Trish. She's a wonderful woman, and she has 3 adult sons with autism, and I'm their speech therapist. And every summer for a week, I run a camp there, again, for those who are on the spectrum, as well as their siblings. If they're neurospicy or not, it doesn't matter. And we have an opportunity to go to the petting zoo every morning, and the theme changes depending on the day so that the kids are immersed in the vocabulary of a particular animal. So because there are kids of all ages and communication abilities, I break down whatever the lesson is particular to that kiddo and particular to their particular speech and language goals. So say Monday is sheep day and we have Ebony, the sheep that comes in, and he's a giant sheep and we take turns leading him around the circle. We talk about the sounds, the habitat, what he eats, what he feels like, and we sing songs and do activities that are all about sheep. And then the next day is pig day, and then it goes on. And then Friday is horse day where they get to ride the horses. And then a lovely station from Hamilton Fire Department, they come and bring one of their rigs and they do the Friday fun day where the kids get to explore the fire truck, speak to the firefighters, look at all the equipment and play with the hoses. And they try to, knock down the pylons and they splash in the puddles. So that's a wonderful opportunity for the kids to explore the animals and learn about everything to do with that, with their speech and language goals in mind. And all of the animals that are on that farm, it's a sanctuary, so they are in their forever home. They've all been rescued from abusive situations or rescued from auction. So all of those animals there are meant to be there, and they don't make profit on selling them or what have you. So there's lots of things to do around the farm, riding the tractor, visiting the petting zoo. They have so many different animals. So the kids love that. So that social group, camp, and then myself, I offer um, home sessions as well as office sessions. So the kids come to my office in my home and we do their speech and language goals, like you said in the introduction, using songs, games, books, whatever it is that motivates that kiddo to get a rapport established for me to figure out what they love. So it's kids with autism, kids with other special needs, but I also see typically developing children who need help with their articulation or their memory or reading, working on their phonological awareness, etc. And because I also have an ABA background, there are some of those aspects inputted into the sessions with kids with autism. So I'm using certain tips and tricks to help them. And it's a whole holistic kind of approach. And that's what the symbol of my emblem is. The puzzle pieces aren't about autism. The puzzle pieces, if you see that they're kind of joining together, and it just means that, building communication one piece at a time, it's not just about treating that kiddo. It's also about supporting the parents and the things that they have access to, and also bringing in other disciplines to help that kiddo as a whole, so speaking with the OTs, the ABA team, the school staff as well, and the EAs. So the kiddo is supported from all angles because you can't just look at just your discipline. You have to work with everyone. So working with, say, the TAC team as well. And then there's different therapists from all over Hamilton, Burlington area that are involved with the kids. And you have to make sure that your goals are aligned and that no one's stepping on anyone's toes and that everyone's informed of what that kiddo needs so that you're working as a team.
I noticed on your website that you have a photos and videos section. What criteria does a photo or video have to fulfill to get put up on your website?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Well, first of all, family permission. Yeah, definitely. I like to pick the photos and videos that kind of highlight what I do, right? So if it shows kids interacting with one another or me just being a goofball, there's probably a picture with me with a pigeon on my head while one of the kids looks at me like I'm nuts during farm camp last year. So it's just a matter of people getting a good idea because they can't always speak to me in person, just to kind of get what my vibe is and if they feel something with me, because you have to get along with your kiddo's therapist. Because I've seen kids, some of them for 10 to 12 years, because their goals change as they get older. They may master certain things and then they need help with other things. So just giving folks an idea of what it's like to have your kiddo be under my care with my team, my SLP team, and my staff that we have at farm camp or social group. So they kind of think, oh, wow, this looks fun. These kids are having a great time. There's obviously a lot of work and things that go on behind the scenes to make that experience like that. And there's obviously things that you don't show when the kid's having a meltdown and you have to deal with it, or they're scratching you or coming after other kids. Those things don't make it on there. But that is just the reality of working with this population of kiddos, because not everyone has a rainbow sparkly unicorn day. Some days it's not like that, and we don't feel that way, and you have to be able to manage behaviors appropriately. So yeah, we like to show the sunny side of things.
Knowing that everyone has their own journey through life, what would a common journey through Hamilton Speech Services look like for one of your clients?
Oh, great question. I'd say, so right from the beginning, when folks call or email to make that first contact, they're talking to me. So they're not talking to a secretary. They're talking to me, the owner, which isn't a common thing. But I like to keep it that way because then I can speak with the parent or the caregiver and really ask the great questions to figure out if it's a good fit. Some folks like to shop around for speech therapy, and that's fine for them. I want to be able to make a connection with the family and the child so that I'm giving them their best start possible. Folks who just want to drop their kid off and sit in the driveway and have me therapize their kid where they sit in their car and scroll, that is not a good fit for me. I won't take a client on if that's what they think is going to happen. I need parents involved, sitting in on session, being with me so that they see how the therapy is done. And then I involve them in the therapy because parent training is such a huge part of what I do. Because say they see me once or twice a week for 30 or 45 minutes, they're with their parents obviously a lot longer. So having that conversation right from the get-go is really helpful, and it weeds out folks who really aren't in it for the best reasons for me, so they can go to somewhere else, because I don't want someone saying, hey, it didn't work. Well, it didn't work because you weren't there. So I need to tell them, if this is what your idea is, I cannot take you on as a client. I always have a wait list. There's always that, obviously, that reputation that I take very seriously. So right from the get-go, they're chatting with me. I hear what they're having issues with. Say the kiddo is young and they're having a certain trouble with a certain sound, and I say, oh, that's very common at this age. They don't need speech therapy at this point, but if they get to this age and they still can't say it, then give me a call. So I'm not in it to make a humongous profit. I can say, oh yeah, sure, bring them on in and get an assessment done. And then, the SLP is like, well, this kid doesn't need speech therapy, right? So then they've just spent that money for nothing. And I'm not in the mood ever to take people's money like that and waste their time. So I'm able to vet them and just say, oh no, come back another time, or yes, okay, that sounds like something that we can help you with. Then we arrange the assessment with the speech pathologist, and they bring their kiddo to my office and they do the assessment in my space. And then once I receive the goals and the treatment plan, I contact that client and then therapy begins. I like to make sure that the kiddos feel very welcome and pick a very fun game to start with, to start to build that rapport, and as well as the parents, to make them feel that they've made the great choice, because it's important to me that they see that their kiddo is having a great time and that I can joke around and do all the things that they want, but they're also getting their work done. I also don't like to beat around the bush about something. Just say, hey, I see that this is happening. We should probably, go with this plan or go with that plan along with the speech pathologist's ideas. Because as a parent myself, I don't like my time to be wasted, and I don't want people to beat around the bush. I want you to tell me straight up, because I feel like direct communication, and that could be because I'm likely autistic myself, undiagnosed, but based on the things that I know about my clients and my brothers and my parents, I'm definitely on there. Direct communication to me is really important because I don't want to waste people's time. And to me, that's respectful. Don't want to waste their time nor their money. And I want people to look back and go, yeah, Mel told me what needed to happen and she did it and we stuck by it, and look where we are today. So their journey, I want them to feel supported, with humor as well. I use a lot of humor, and the kids definitely love that as well. And I can joke around and do all the things. As a mom of 5, nothing surprises me. Nothing freaks me out. I've seen it all. And to do the therapy from a standpoint of humor, because there isn't always happy days, like I've said before. And there are days where parents come to me and they're in tears because they're just so overwhelmed with what's going on. Say their kiddo has a new behavior or a new stim that is, hurting them or disrupting the family or what have you. And you almost become like a counselor sometimes, so that you're there with them and they're really pouring your heart out to you. So you're not just a CDA. Some days you're also that listening ear. And like I said, as a mom myself, I understand the struggles of supporting kids with special needs myself in a parent role as well as in a therapy role. So I want folks to be able to celebrate the highs and lows with me and to see their kiddos along their journey. And it is the best gift, because I believe I really am in the best job. I had a bridal shower the other day and they asked, well, what is the bride's dream job? Because I'm getting married next month. And everyone was like, well, it's what she's doing. She's constantly talking about it. She's meant to be this therapist. And I was like, this is right. I'm doing my dream job. And the best thing is when I can see that kiddo go from nonverbal to speaking either with their own voice or using their AAC device and talking sentences and making comments. And if they choose to use their own voice, eventually, there's kids that I now have text conversations with who used to be nonverbal 10 years ago, and they will text me, at 10 o'clock at night. Hey, Mel, I'm watching Cats. Oh, and now I have 17 DVDs of this. You know what I mean? So it's like my dream come true to be like, I had a part in this kid's journey. And it's such a beautiful thing to have.
So, are there any restrictions to the services at Hamilton Speech Services, like age or caregivers or family members only, things like that?
I'd say the only restriction is to make sure that if families are coming from blended families, separation or divorce, that we obviously have proof that both parents agree to the treatment. They don't have to be both involved. If there's always, sometimes tricky family situations. So that would be one restriction, that yes, I can see your kiddo, but we need to have proof of the other parent says yes, that this can actually happen if they have 50-50 decision making. Caregivers are always welcome, as well as parents. I have lots of families who mom, dad, nana, papa bring their kiddos at different times, which is amazing to see because everyone knows what is expected and what is done, and we share things. There's family group chats that I'm a part of for different clients where I'll send that video and go, look what so and so did today. This is amazing, and they'll be like, oh, that's so great, and I'll send it to so and so. So that would be the only restriction. And age, if there's special needs, there is no age limit. I've seen kids who are 18 months up to adults who are 55 years old. So it doesn't matter what their age is for those with special needs. Same with the social groups and the camps and things like that. For me, the most important part is where they are mentally and what the communication level is, so that I can kind of pair kiddos or teenagers who maybe have the same likes and dislikes, but also who have similar communication levels so that they have a means of connecting. And then there's also legalities of what have you to make sure that I'm doing what a CDA is allowed to do according to the governing body of speech language pathologists. I have my own insurance, obviously, as someone who's not a private practitioner. That is an SLP. They have a governing body just like the doctors do. So ultimately what I do reflects on what they do, so that there has to be a very trustworthy relationship between myself and the SLPs. And I've had some SLPs for 10 plus years, and I've worked with them in previous jobs. So I've, known them for a long time. One of them, my whole entire career. We started at the same private practice and went separate ways and then connected again. So it's just making sure that according to legalities, that everyone is doing their job properly and ethically, needing to keep notes in a certain way because they are considered medical documents. So there's a certain way that we have to prepare notes in a certain fashion. And those will have to be protected and be locked away. And so there's those kinds of legalities when it comes to treatment. And again, knowing what a CDA can do versus an SLP. So for example, I don't do feeding and swallowing. That's something that SLPs can only do. I can do, say, a repertoire of what the kiddos do eat and fill out that kind of form with parents, but I don't actually deal with feeding and swallowing. That is something only SLPs can do. And those things don't interest me anyway. My bread and butter are children and youth and adults with special needs. So yeah, stick to what I know.
So are there any events coming up for Hamilton Speech Services?
So our camp, July 20th to 24th at Triple C Farm. The registration is open and we're about half filled for what our capacity is, but I always can bring on more staff if there's more interest. I like to have a 1-to-1 staff ratio at minimum, just for, safety concerns and what have you. If I need to pop and, help a kiddo who's having a meltdown over in the petting zoo, then that means that no one is being ignored because there's lots of staff there.
So is this like a day camp then, or is it like a...
Exactly. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Yeah, Monday to...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been running for a number of years now. So we have lots of kids who have been there before and love it. And then we also have kids who are trying it for the first time as well. Um, so that's pretty much what's happening coming up because I went from a big office and spending a lot of money on overhead to now having my office in my backyard. My fiance built me a little cabin in it.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
I am able to still do speech therapy, but not be as stressed and not have to landlords and traffic and all the other bills that had to be paid because I was off site. So now I'm comfortably in my own place, which is amazing because I have a beautiful backyard where the kids can be on the swing or on the trampoline. And that is also a fun thing to be offered that you can't offer in an office building. So yeah. So, and we're just steps away to a park as well. And where the social group is, it's also steps away from West Cliff Mall and parks as well. So all the things that I'm doing are, on purpose to make sure that the location is great and what have you. But yeah, social group and campers, what is on the horizon. And like I said, I'm getting married next month, and that's all I can take on at the moment.
Fair enough. So, what is one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be? And how do you think it can be stopped?
Oh, okay. So something that I've noticed throughout my entire career is the EA staffing. Kids have a very good outlook if they have EA staff that are knowledgeable and educated in autism. Back in the day when I was in university, I was also an EA on the supply list, and I got a really good picture of what it was like to be an EA, and it is dire, especially if you're on the supply list. Unfortunately, in some places, you're treated as a glorified babysitter, and you're put into situations that are dangerous sometimes. But then there's also places that I've been to that they really care for that are EAs, and their EAs have been around for a long time. Obviously, there's a funding issue. There always has been. The kids aren't supported at school, and parents have really had to decrease their expectations about what is happening at school because, they get called, once or twice a week, you got to come pick up your kid. We don't have any EA staff for them. And it's like that my kid has a right to be there and they need to be there for their education. And I also need to go to work. My kid needs to go to school, and it's therefore the parents' problem that there's no staff or there's something that's happened where the child has hit their EA and there's no follow-up. All of a sudden the kid is now suspended for a week because, he broke her nose. Well, what happened? Oh, we don't know. What do you mean? What he's not violent. He doesn't do that. What happened before that? Was there a tussle? Was there an argument? What was the antecedent that started this behavior? What you know what I mean? So there's always been that ever since I started. And I'm just like, this needs to be better. And my dream is to one day have a school for kiddos with special needs where you're on a farm. You have teaching staff, speech staff, OT staff, ABA staff. So your child is therapized all throughout the day. So there's no parents running around trying to figure out who's taking who where and siblings to this and siblings to that. So that when the kid comes home that day, it's family time. And at that school, all of their educational needs and therapy needs are taken care of. And then because you're on the farm, then you're working with animals. You're also teaching them about self-help skills, and you're weeding that garden, you're growing that food, you're selling it at the farm stand, you're picking the flowers and selling them. They're learning about life in such an environment that is handpicked by amazing people who are in the job for the right reasons. Because I just see such a detriment when kids go sometimes to school and the school is just not, they're not equipped.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you and learn more about your organization, how can they do that?
They can reach me via my website, hamiltonspeech.com. So if you click on contact us, you get the email gets sent directly to me. There's also my direct email, mhamilton@hamiltonspeech.com, or so my phone number, as well as we're also on social media as well if you want to direct message me through there. But emailing me is the best way, as sometimes social media doesn't always give me a notification that someone's messaged me. So website or calling me is also good as well, but definitely email is my preferred way because then it's just a visual reminder I need to call someone.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. So I've really enjoyed talking to you today and learning about your organization. So thanks again for joining me today, Melanie.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. This has been a Community Partners interview on Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time.